Lifelong learning requires more than good intentions. I wish that was all it took. It requires curiosity that sustains your attention and motivation through continuous change. This lesson focuses on developing curiosity as a practical leadership habit, not just a personality trait. As renowned astrophysicist Carl Sagan wrote, "Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known." This sense of curiosity, the drive to discover and understand, is what transforms learning from obligation into opportunity. Curiosity is not something you either have or don't have. It's a skill you can cultivate through specific practices that become easier and more natural over time. Curiosity drives the learning we discussed in the previous lesson. Without it, staying current on AI feels like a chore you force yourself to do. With it, learning becomes engaging and sustainable. But curiosity does more than enable learning. It transforms how you lead. Better questions lead to better decisions. Curious leaders ask questions that surface important information and challenge assumptions. Instead of accepting proposals at face value, curious leaders ask, why this approach? And what alternatives did we consider? And what could go wrong? These questions improve decision quality. As management consultant and author Warren Berger noted in A More Beautiful Question, questioning is a uniquely powerful tool for unlocking value in organizations. It spurs learning and the exchange of ideas. Curiosity builds innovation. Organizations where leaders demonstrate curiosity become more innovative. When people see leadership exploring new ideas and asking thoughtful questions, they feel encouraged to do the same. Incurious leadership creates cultures where people stop proposing new ideas because they learn leadership is not interested. Curiosity reduces blind spots. Leaders confident they already know what matters stop seeking new information. They develop blind spots where important developments happen without their awareness. Curious leaders stay alert to signals they might be missing and actively seek diverse perspectives. Curiosity models adaptability. When your team sees you genuinely curious about AI developments, asking questions, and adjusting your thinking based on what you learn, they recognize that adaptation is valued. This models the adaptability your organization needs to thrive through change. There are barriers to curiosity. Before exploring further how to cultivate curiosity, let's acknowledge what undermines it. Perceived pressure to know everything. Many leaders feel they should already know answers and that asking questions reveals inadequacy. This pressure to appear knowledgeable kills curiosity. You stop asking questions that would advance understanding because you're managing impressions. As innovation expert author Francesca Gino writes in Rebel Talent, despite the well-established benefits of curiosity, organizations often discourage it. In surveys, employees across industries report that their organizations do not encourage curiosity or exploration. Information overload. When facing overwhelming amounts of information, natural response is to shut down and stop seeking more. Overload makes curiosity feel dangerous, opening another door you don't have time to explore. Lack of time. Curiosity requires time to explore, reflect, and pursue interesting questions. When every minute is scheduled, curiosity gets squeezed out. Fear of looking foolish. Curiosity involves not knowing. If your culture punishes not knowing or asking basic questions, curiosity becomes risky. Decision fatigue. After making numerous decisions, mental energy for curiosity depletes. You default to familiar patterns rather than exploring new possibilities. Success and experience. Paradoxically, success and experience can reduce curiosity. What worked before feels sufficient. Deep expertise can create overconfidence about what you already know. Recognizing these barriers helps you address them rather than assuming you're just not naturally curious. Let's discuss how to develop curiosity as a practical habit. Cultivating curiosity. Ask one more question. When you receive an answer or explanation, practice asking one more question that goes deeper. Someone explains an AI proposal. Ask one more question. What problem does this solve that we cannot solve now? Someone answers that. Ask one more. How do we know this is actually the core problem versus a symptom? This one more question habit builds deeper understanding without requiring extensive time. Collect interesting questions. Keep a running list of questions you find interesting about AI and your business. Not questions you need answered urgently, just things you're curious about. How are competitors using AI in their supply chains? What makes some AI initiatives succeed while others fail? How do employees really feel about AI tools we've deployed? This collection serves two purposes. It surfaces what genuinely interests you, useful for prioritizing learning, and reviewing it reminds you there are interesting things to explore. Schedule curiosity time. Just as you schedule important meetings, schedule time for curiosity-driven learning. This might be 30 minutes Friday afternoons for reading about AI developments, or monthly lunch conversations with technical team members where they share what they find interesting. Scheduled time legitimizes curiosity and ensures it happens rather than getting perpetually deferred. Follow your energy. Notice what AI topics energize you versus what feels like obligation. If generative AI applications fascinate you, while automated decision-making feels tedious, lean into your energy. Go deeper on what interests you, rather than forcing yourself to learn about everything equally. Curiosity sustained by genuine interests lasts longer than discipline-driven learning. Create learning experiments. Turn curiosity into small experiments you can conduct. Wondering how an AI tool works? Spend 30 minutes trying it. Curious about what employees think of new AI systems? Have coffee with a few users and ask. Interested in how competitors use AI? Research it for an hour. Small experiments satisfy curiosity while keeping time investment bounded. Share what you're curious about. Tell your team what you're wondering about or learning. I've been curious about how AI might improve our forecasting. Anyone else thinking about this? Or, I read something interesting about AI in healthcare that made me wonder about applications in our field. Sharing your curiosity invites others to explore with you and models that curiosity is valued. Embrace beginner's mind. Approach familiar domains as if you're learning them fresh. I know we've used customer segmentation for years, but with AI capabilities, should we rethink how we approach this? Beginner's mind prevents expertise from closing off curiosity. As Zen teacher Shunryu Suzuki famously observed, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's, there are few." This openness to possibility is essential for innovation. Question your assumptions. Regularly examine assumptions beyond your thinking. This openness to possibility is essential for innovation. Question your assumptions. Regularly examine assumptions behind your thinking. I've assumed AI works best for routine tasks. Is that actually true or just my mental model? I believe our data quality isn't good enough for AI. How would I test that assumption? Questioning assumptions reveals interesting questions worth exploring. Asking better questions about AI. Curiosity expresses itself through questions. Here are frameworks for asking questions that deepen understanding. The why chain, asking why repeatedly to get beneath surface explanations. This AI will reduce customer service costs. Why will it reduce costs? Because it handles routine inquiries automatically. Why can it handle those better than current systems? Because it understands natural language, not just keywords. Why does that matter for these particular inquiries? Each why reveals deeper understanding. The how deep dive, ask how questions that explore mechanisms and processes. How does this AI actually make decisions? How would we know if it's working well? How would employees' work change? How do we handle situations where it fails? The how questions surface practical details that affect implementation. The what if exploration, ask what if to explore scenarios and edge cases. What if our customer base changes significantly? What if the AI makes systematically biased decisions? What if competitors deploy better AI faster? What if regulatory requirements change? What if questions surface risks and contingencies? The what else expansion. Ask what else to broaden consideration beyond initial proposals. What else could we do to achieve this goal? What else should we be considering? What else are we not seeing? What else prevents premature closure on first options? The who perspective. Ask who questions that surface diverse stakeholder impacts. Who benefits from this AI system? Who might be harmed? Who is not represented in our thinking? Who has experience with similar initiatives? Who questions build more complete understanding of impacts and knowledge sources. The naive question. Don't hesitate to ask questions that seem basic. Help me understand what you mean by machine learning in this context. I want to make sure I'm following. What's the difference between this and what we currently do? Often these basic questions reveal that others are also confused or that explanations need clarification. You want to create space for curiosity in your organization because your curiosity matters, but organizational curiosity matters more. Model curious behavior. When you ask genuine questions in meetings, others recognize that curiosity is valued. When you say, I don't know, but I'm curious to learn, rather than pretending certainty, you make it safe for others to admit uncertainty. When you share interesting things you're learning, you signal that learning is important. As leadership expert Simon Sinek notes, leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. By modeling curiosity, you take care of your team's learning and growth. Reward good questions. Explicitly recognize when people ask questions that advance understanding. You might say something like, "That's a really good question. It helps us think about this differently." Or, "I'm glad you asked that. It's something we should explore." What gets recognized gets repeated. Create curiosity rituals. Establish regular practices that encourage curiosity. Monthly, what we're learning about AI sessions where people share interesting developments. Quarterly reviews that explicitly ask what surprised us alongside what did we achieve. Rituals make curiosity structural, not dependent on individual initiative. Protect exploration time. Build Slack and timelines for teams to explore, experiment, and learn, not just execute. When every minute is scheduled for delivery, curiosity and learning get squeezed out. Celebrate learning, not just knowing. Recognize people who share what they've learned, even if it means admitting they didn't know something before. If only expertise gets celebrated, people hide their learning process and curiosity. Invite diverse perspectives. Bring people with different backgrounds and expertise into conversations about AI strategy. It affects everyone. Different perspectives surface questions and insights that homogeneous groups miss. Consider curiosity in different leadership contexts. How curiosity manifests varies by context. In strategy discussions, curious leaders ask questions that challenge assumptions and expand option space, not to be contrarian, but to ensure important alternatives get considered before committing to direction. As Intel's former CEO Andy Grove famously said, "Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive." Strategic curiosity constantly questions assumptions and exploring alternatives. And this is how you avoid complacency. In evaluating proposals, curious leaders ask questions that surface what proponents might not be emphasizing: risks, alternatives, dependencies, stakeholder impacts. In learning from failures, curious leaders approach failures as learning opportunities rather than just looking for accountability. What can we learn from this? Instead of just who's responsible? In staying current, curious leaders maintain learning habits that keep understanding current: reading, conversations with experts, attending relevant events. In team development, curious leaders ask questions that help team members develop their own thinking rather than just directing solutions. What do you think we should do? And what factors are you weighing? Instead of just, here's what we're doing. Balancing curiosity with decisiveness. Some leaders worry that curiosity creates indecisiveness, asking endless questions without making decisions. This is a false tension. Effective leaders balance curiosity with decisiveness. Curiosity before decision. Use curiosity to explore thoroughly before deciding. Ask questions. Gather perspectives. Consider alternatives. Decisiveness after sufficient exploration. Once you've explored sufficiently, decide and commit. Don't let curiosity delay decisions indefinitely. Curiosity after decision. Remain curious about how decisions play out. We decided X. How is it working? What are we learning? Know when you know enough. Develop judgment about when additional curiosity provides diminishing returns versus when it's essential. Perfect information is not possible or necessary. Good enough understanding that enables confident decisions is the goal. Sustaining curiosity over time. Curiosity can wane without attention. How do you sustain it? Well, you refresh your questions. Periodically review your list of interesting questions. Which have you explored? Which remain interesting? What new questions emerge? This refresh prevents curiosity from becoming stale and vary your learning sources. Don't get stuck in the same sources for AI information. Vary where you learn. Different publications, events, conversations, experiments. Variety maintains freshness and exposes you to diverse perspectives. Connect with curious people. Spend time with people who are genuinely curious about AI and other domains. Curiosity is contagious. Curious conversations energize your own curiosity. As a motivational speaker, Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Surround yourself with curious minds, and your own curiosity will flourish. Notice what fascinates you. Pay attention when something captures your interest. Lean into that fascination rather than dismissing it as distraction. Following your genuine interest sustains long-term curiosity better than disciplined learning about should-be interested in topics. Celebrate discoveries. Notice and appreciate when curiosity leads to valuable insights or better decisions. This positive reinforcement sustains curiosity over time. There are some common curiosity mistakes. Several patterns undermine curiosity's benefits. Curiosity without focus. Exploring everything interesting leads to scattered understanding without depth. Focus curiosity on strategically important domains while staying broadly aware of other developments. Questions as performance. Asking questions to appear thoughtful rather than genuine curiosity. People notice performative questions, and they don't actually advance understanding. Curiosity that disrespects expertise. Questioning everything, including clear expert consensus, can waste time and signal disrespect. Balance curiosity with trust in expertise. Ask questions that help you understand expert thinking, not questions that challenge it reflexively. Curiosity without action. Learning interesting things without considering implications for your decisions and organization. Curiosity paired with, "So what does this mean for us?" creates value. Curiosity alone is just interesting. Practical exercises for building curiosity. Here are specific exercises you can practice if you'd like. The daily question. Each day, identify one question you're curious about related to AI or your business. Doesn't need to be profound, just genuinely interesting to you. Over time, this builds awareness of what you're curious about and habit of questioning. The why, what, how framework for any AI initiative or proposal. Systematically ask, why are we doing this? What problem does it solve? How will it work? This framework ensures you explore beyond surface understanding. The opposite question. When you have a strong belief about AI, ask the opposite. What if I'm wrong about this? What evidence would change my mind? This prevents curiosity from becoming confirmation bias. The expert interview. Monthly, have a conversation with someone who knows more than you about some aspect of AI. technical team member, vendor, academic, here. Approach it with genuine curiosity, not to be briefed, but to understand their perspective. The learning share. Once a month, share something interesting you learned about AI with your team. This creates accountability for continuous learning and models curious behavior. Curiosity is not a fixed trait. It's a skill you develop through practice. The specific practices in this lesson give you concrete ways to cultivate curiosity as a leadership habit. As author and journalist Sidney J. Harris observed, the whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. Curiosity is what transforms you from merely reflecting what you already know into someone who can see new possibilities and learn continuously. As you use these practices, notice what works for you. Not every practice will resonate with every leader. Build on what energizes your curiosity and generates insights that improve your decisions. In the next lesson, we'll explore building adaptability for continuous change, the capability to adjust your thinking and approaches as AI and your organizational context evolve. You've developed practices for sustaining curiosity. Next, let's discuss how you can adapt that understanding as circumstances change in the next lesson.